Rookie Michaela Perry-Jones took her second career pole in the first visit in FARC Low Series history to Utah's Provo Motorsports Park. The Indiana late model racer and winner at Nelson Ledges has surprised everyone with her road racing muscle, but for others it's been a challenging weekend, as the tires that Duckroll brought to the track wore out very quickly during open qualifying. Points leader Mark Thompson nearly failed to qualify after a blowout sent him off the road early in his run, sidelining him for the rest of the session and putting him deep in the lineup. Kurt Walker, Thompson's car owner, called for FARC to throw 2 competition cautions with mandatory tire changes during the race, but Jen Walker, FARC race director, and his sister, quickly denied his and all other requests for mandatory cautions, claiming that many of our drivers come to FARC to develop their skills, and tire management is one of the most valuable. If we made them stop every 15 laps to change tires, they'd never figure it out for themselves. We don't believe we're taking any unnecessary risks by letting the race play out. After all, only one team blew a tire in qualifying, the 98. Most teams have said that they'll need to change tires twice today, when most FARC races require only one stop. As if that didn't put enough pressure on the teams, there also happens to be a very large TM Master Cup Series presence at the Provo Motorsports Park today. Scouts from several Master Cup teams have attended to observe FARC's road racing talent, which of course is a very important part of Master Cup racing. And there are 2 FARC regulars in particular who Master Cup teams have reportedly been interested in. Chuck Johnson, the 2016 FARC Low Series champion, and second in points coming into this race, and, of all people, Truman Ellison, the eccentric entrepreneur and owner-driver who took the victory at the Carl Superstore earlier this year. And you can bet that several of the other younger drivers in today's race are also hoping to impress the Master Cup teams in attendance. Not only are several of the teams here, but we have a few Master Cup regulars and prospects in today's field. Jacob Card is back in the Team Thunder number 77 this week and will roll off from the 6th starting spot. Full-time Master Cup driver John Dilks has showed up to take Alexa Lake's place in the Master Sport Racing number 26 with some backing from Dynaco. Dilks, who already has a FARC presence with his Super Series team that his protege Alfred Jones drives for, was one of the big names to come out in support of Master Sport Racing after the team nearly faced shutdown, and he will be in this car when FARC heads to Talladega in a few weeks as well. Dilks will start 26th today. Also, making his FARC debut to gain stock car experience ahead of running some possible Master Cup road races in 2019 is 20-year-old Karel Rosenstretter, who currently leads his class in North American GT racing, co-driving with his father, former Master Cup driver Stan Rosenstretter. The younger Rosenstretter is behind the wheel of an M&J-prepared Zing Energy Espresso SAR, using the owner points from the number 72 Team Burr entry that is normally driven by Bobby Dwyer. Rosenstretter qualified 9th, but not without challenges, as he had a run-in with Springfield winner Carl Hampton during qualifying that, amusingly enough, Hampton blamed on Noah Dalitz, who drives a similarly painted Zing Energy car for M&J Racing. Finally, the best of 10 rule for the championship will kick in after today. 15 drivers will be running their 11th race of the season today. The top 11 drivers in the points, plus Rip Tyler, Donnie Ashcroft, Noah Dalitz, and Sergei Yakovsky. After this race, their worst results will start to be wiped, which will make the standings following the race appear to be a little different than you'd expect otherwise. And now, we finally go trackside at the Provo Motorsports Park to bring you the highlights of the FARC Provo 120K. Michaela Perry-Jones leads over Harry Asinola at the start, the rookie from the short tracks versus the longtime FARC veteran. Leading into turn 1, that's Truman Ellison right on the 93's bumper, and we've got an incident in the back. Billy Ray Smith-Thompson and Thomas Kohler have gone around off of turn 1. Billy Ray Smith-Thompson tagged by the 83, who was then turned around by the 66 of Todd Stater in that stack-up. Smith-Thompson and Thomas Kohler are going to keep going, but they're way behind, and they've got a lot of work to do. Smith-Thompson, in his haste to get back to the front, runs right up on the bumper of David Bloom, who finally got into one of these races on the wild card, and he just punted him right off the road, sent him into the wall. So the defending series champion not showing much patience or respect to the back markers. But now Truman Ellison, the man who very much used to be a back marker, goes for the lead against Michaela Perry-Jones at the beginning of lap 3. That is Timothy Ruiz in the 212, running in third place. Looking back through the field, Mark Thompson, who started all the way back in 38th, the last car to get in on time, has already made his way up to 26th. In fact, that's 25th place he's just taken from Noah Dalitz. His championship rival Chuck Johnson, on the other hand, has fallen behind, running a 32nd at the end of lap 3 after starting 29th, battling with Megan Gallagher in that 52, the second of the Big Mac racing cars. But Chuck Johnson, with so many eyes on him this weekend, is already in a hole. Karel Rosenstretter qualified 9th, he's made his way up to 6th, and now he's going for 5th, around the outside of Sergei Yakovsky in that 82 Rus Autosport car. And right behind these two is Mariano Zavala, Rosenstretter's teammate, kind of. This 72 car prepared by M&J Racing is technically a Team Burr entry, but despite not having the preferred line in the final corner and turn 1, Rosenstretter's still hanging on, and it looks like he's put the power down a little better than Sergei Yakovsky. Another left-hander, which should work out in Yakovsky's favor, but Rosenstretter hangs on, and coming into the S, Yakovsky lets the 72 go. Mariano Zavala now tries to follow him. Rosenstretter moves up to 5th, and Mariano Zavala is going to get the job done, put himself in 6th at the end of lap 5. But look out behind this group of cars. That red and black number 6 is Keegan Mallory, who started all the way back in 19th and has made an aggressive charge towards the front. With how quickly the duck roll tires have been wearing out this weekend, you'd think that Mallory's tires would be shredded with this aggressive strategy, but we should be about halfway into this first tire run, and Mallory's still running some very fast lap times, still in the 101s, and he's just taken 5th from Karel Rosenstretter, now looking at challenging Timothy Ruiz and the Ike Durbin cars. And I think some of these other cars are already showing the effects of the tire wear. Mark Thompson's charge has already stalled out. He's only gained a few more spots since the last time we saw him. He's challenging John Dilks, only for the 22nd spot right now. Mark Thompson's pace has certainly dropped off, and while he's still picking up positions, it's not the pace that he was doing it at the beginning of the run. Keegan Mallory, on the other hand, has just gotten by Grant Carsons, and he trades a little bit of paint with Michaela Perry-Jones for the second spot. Now sets his sights on Truman Ellison. Back at Nelson Ledges, it was Michaela Perry-Jones running away from Keegan Mallory to take the win, and now Mallory is going to run away from Perry-Jones. And as expected, it didn't take Mallory long to get to Truman Ellison. It looks like he's leaning on that 03 through the second to last corner. Ellison defending on the low line. Mallory swings it around the outside, but that's David Bloom getting in the way. But I don't think this is going to be the end of the world for Mallory, as he's running laps about 2 seconds faster still than the rest of the cars in the top 10. Gets by the 69 now, sets his sights on the 03 once again. And at the end of that very same lap, he puts the bumper to Truman Ellison, shoves him out of the way, off the final corner, and that puts Keegan Mallory in the lead. That 16 owned the second car, owned by David Hetzel, who also owns the 66 of Todd Stater, has obviously figured something out. Meanwhile, Karel Rosenstretter kicks off the first round of pit stops from 7th. Timothy Ruiz in the 212 is going to follow him, as well as Harry Asinola and Jim Kidd. On the next lap, Truman Ellison pits from 2nd, and here comes the 86 of Grant Carsons following him in. The 93 of Michaela Perry-Jones, Carsons' teammate, stays out for a little longer. Anthony Griffith is in, Rip Tyler is in, Yakovsky, and Liam O'Connor in the 48, the third car for Power Surge America. Keegan Mallory has yet to pit, and it shows. Harry Asinola, who he just put a lap down coming out of the pits, is much faster than that 6 car, but Mallory is still just as aggressive, getting a little close for comfort with the 2, but despite how much he slowed down, Mallory bypasses the pits once again. Michaela Perry-Jones in the 93 is also holding out, as well as Mariano Zavala in that yellow car in the distance. To a similar effect, those lapped cars of Chuck Johnson and Donnie Ashcroft are much faster than them as well. Kerry Fenton and Riley Durbin have gotten up into the top 5 by staying out for much longer, but they bail for the pits this time by. Meanwhile, Ellis Gideon, another one of our debutant drivers today, gets run over by the 212 of Timothy Ruiz on much fresher tires than him. Gideon has stayed out and made his way up to 14th. David Bloom gets turned once again, this time by Anthony Griffith, and he gets clipped by the 86 of Grant Carsons. And that does a lot of damage to the front end of the 86. Grant Carsons will unfortunately be our first casualty of the day, after running as high as third during the first stint. Meanwhile, the Dave Hetzel number 6 team has shown their hand as Keegan Mallory comes into the pits just before the halfway point. They are going to do this race on one stop, or at least attempt it. We're not sure if it'll work out for them, as the difference between Mallory's times at the start of the run and at the end of the run was about 6 seconds. The same goes for Michaela Perry-Jones and Mariano Zavala, who pit on the same lap. They're running this race on one stop as well. This is going to put Truman Ellison, the first of the cars on the two-stop strategy, back into the lead. Timothy Ruiz in the 212 in tow. Ruiz started 4th, fell back to 8th right before pit stops. Now he's back up to 2nd. Another one of those drivers who's probably looking to turn heads among the Master Cup teams in attendance today. In 3rd place, Karel Rosenstrader has a bit of a sketchy moment as Chris Crompton in the 224 merges right in front of him. And as Rosenstrader runs a distant 3rd to Timothy Ruiz, right behind him are the Power Surge America cars of Rip Tyler and Jim Kidd, and that's Keegan Mallory in the 6. He has not lost much time at all. But now Truman Ellison breaks down from the lead. He was on his way to a great performance, but now his car slows down very quickly. Ellison can't get into the pits. He parks the car on the track, a bit far from the racing line. But Ellison is done for the day, handing the lead over to Timothy Ruiz. His pace is starting to drop off, and he's due for his second stop in a few laps. But even with Keegan Mallory and the other one-stop cars lurking in the distance, this is shaping up to be a great opportunity for Ruiz in front of a pretty significant audience. Karel Rosenstrader took over second place after Truman Ellison dropped out, but his pace is starting to drop off as well. He struggles now with the lapped car of Thomas Kohler and Keegan Mallory, who takes over 3rd. Rosenstrader pitted on the same lap as Timothy Ruiz, so he's due for his stop soon. And he's just going to let the 83 and the 6 go around the outside. Mallory swings it pretty wide. Maybe Mallory finally wanted to give someone some racing room and didn't know how much to give him. That's going to hurt the 6 a little bit, but he's so fast it's not going to be a problem for him. Meanwhile, we've had a pretty big crash between Donnie Ashcroft and Kelly Splicen, who were both off the lead lap and dueling for the ever-important 35th place. Kelly Splicen climbed out of that car, but she tells people she carries a baseball bat for these very high-stakes situations. Coming to 12 laps to go, Rip Tyler kicks off the second round of stops. He had gotten around Karel Rosenstrader at the end of that run. And on that same lap, Harry Asinola leads Sergei Yakovsky, Anthony Griffith, and Mark Thompson, who gained quite a few spots in between the last round of stops and this one. Riley Durbin stays out, distracted by his turn now to harass the 69 of David Bloom. On paper, a teammate to Karel Rosenstrader under the Team Burr banner, and Riley Durbin's obviously not happy with how slow David Bloom has been, putting him in the wall a second time. But Bloom soldiers on, trying to get as many miles as he can out of the wild card opportunity. Coming to 11 laps to go, Timothy Ruiz gives up the lead to make his second stop. That's going to hand the lead back over to Keegan Mallory. Mariano Zavala picks up second, still running the one-stop strategy. But Michaela Perry-Jones has given up on running the race on one stop. She pits after falling to 8th with 9 laps to go. Carrie Fenton in the 64 made her way up to 3rd, and now she pits, coming to 6 laps to go. Riley Durbin looks like he's going to try to make it on one stop only, although his first stop was pretty early on. He makes his way up to 3rd, but then quickly loses it to Timothy Ruiz. And I hear smoke coming from one of the cars ahead of these guys. That's Brandon Krasta in the 630, running in 25th off the lead lap. The engine just gives up on that car. David Bloom's day comes to an end at the hands of Michaela Perry-Jones, who now takes her turn to spin the 69, and that's Sergei Yakovsky getting collected. Yakovsky had fallen to a disappointing 21st and gets knocked out of the race as well. Team Burr, if you've been following FARC for any significant amount of time, is not a team that needs to be wrecking cars like that. Hopefully they'll be able to fix that 69 car up in time for Roswell next week. And Riley Durbin's one-stop strategy goes up in smoke, literally, as he blows up with 5 laps remaining, coming to 4 to go from the 4th spot. This was Riley Durbin's first race back after his big win at Delaware, and he was on his way to following up on that very well. Keegan Mallory has an untouchable lead at this point with just 3 laps to go, but he could get himself into trouble if he touches one of these lapped cars. That's Carrie Fenton shoving her way through. She knows that's the leader, right? But Mallory's pace has dropped off by a lot, and that's the sacrifice he's going to make if he's going to make it on one stop. Michaela Perry-Jones in the 93 closes up on him very quickly, trying to get herself back onto the lead lap. Looks like she's resisting the urge to knock him out of the way, but there she goes, passing him cleanly to the inside, coming to 2 laps to go. But Mallory isn't done with lapped traffic yet, as he gets knocked off the road by Jacob Card in the 77. He goes into the wall, and this is coming to the white flag. It must be really strange to have to deal with lapped traffic from behind, and Mallory's nearly been taken out twice. This is probably going to be the longest lap of his life as he tries to hang on. And things get heated in the battle for second. Timothy Ruiz has caught and bumped the 94 of Mariano Zavala. Remember, Timothy Ruiz has made 2 stops, Zavala 1. And Timothy Ruiz on much fresher tires is much faster. Karel Rosenstrutter has made his way up to 5th, has to negotiate with the lapped cars of Noah Dalitz, his teammate, and Ellis Gideon, and ends up getting run over by Mark Thompson going into turn 2. Welcome to FARC Racing, Karel Rosenstrutter. Rosenstrutter gets back going without hitting anything. Here comes Todd Stater in the 66. That's going to be for position. We've had 3 incidents with just 2 laps to go, but Keegan Mallory has made that car much faster for much longer than everybody else, and he survives the final lap to take his first FARC Low Dollar Series victory in dominant fashion with brilliant pit strategy. Timothy Ruiz comes across the line second, almost 12.5 seconds behind Keegan Mallory. This is the 3rd runner-up finish of Ruiz's career and his 2nd top 5 of 2018. Mariano Zavala, after getting knocked out of the way by Ruiz, still comes across the line in 3rd. Zach Webster ran a very clean but quiet race. He picks up 4th with Rip Tyler behind him. Packer Carroll comes across the line in 6th, 1 spot away from matching his best finish of the season, a 5th place finish in the season opener. For 7th place, Mark Thompson is right on Jim Kidd's bumper, but Kidd holds him off for the spot. Mark Thompson did a great job picking his way through the field after nearly failing to qualify. And for 9th place, we have a drag race coming to the line between Todd Stater and Karel Rosenstrutter, and it's going to be Stater nipping him at the line. Rosenstrutter has to settle for 10th after being spun with 2 to go. And now, looking at the point standings, Mark Thompson extended his lead over Chuck Johnson, who could only reach 20th after starting 29th, despite keeping his car clean all day. Billy Ray Smith-Thompson fared a little better with a 14th place finish, and he had to overcome a first lap spin to do that, but he still lost out to Thompson. Anthony Griffith remains 4th in the standings after finishing 11th, but Todd Stater swapped spots with Dan Lechleiter. Despite also running a one-stop strategy, Lechleiter's top 10 streak came to an end with a 16th place finish. Jim Kidd and Zach Webster also trade places with Packer Carroll and Carl Hampton, respectively. Harry Estanola remains 11th after finishing 12th, while Rip Tyler and Michaela Perry-Jones overtake Rick Forrest, who skipped this race, and Carrie Fenton remains 15th. Next week, the FARC Low Dollar Series makes its 2nd trip to New Mexico to celebrate the grand reopening of the Roswell Speedway at the GoNav UFO 100. And as always, you'll be able to catch all the action right here on the FARC Racing Network.